Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Silver Tears Tarot. Today, we're going to take a look at what you're supposed to do given the proximity of your person's energy. So, we've seen in previous weeks, your person's energy has come very close to you. In some cases, it's resulted in them reaching out and communicating. In some cases, it's like they almost got there, but not quite. In some of the situations, it really caused them to kind of bounce back out of your energy and to really just ghost back out or get very quiet. But the energy itself hasn't retracted, so it's still very much next to you. Some of you are stuck in this awkward sort of exchange that's not really going anywhere, that, they're responding with emojis or they're taking days to respond. It's just not a lot of enthusiasm behind it, or not very much happening. It's very stagnant. In some cases, they've continued to be very quiet, and in other cases, still, you never even heard from them. You can just feel it there, So we're going to look into that. What can you be doing about that? What can you be doing? What do you need to know? And really just kind of what's happening there. So it'll be a general reading as always, but it's a general reading for this collective, so it'll resonate with you if you're part of this collective, most likely. But that means it's not going to resonate for everybody, which that's okay. Just something to think about. So if you do find out that this is your story, though, make sure that you do yourself a favor and look at some of the other videos as well, and maybe subscribe so that you'll be able to catch the messages as they come in the future. So we're going to look at the energy is still right there. What should you be doing at it? Starting with the energetic backdrop for today. So this is what's sticking out in the energy. What are you guys swimming around in? It's a current energy between the two of you, but it's not necessarily going to impact just you. It might be like, we had the new moon energy. When you have like the moon energy or planetary energy, that's going to have an impact on everybody, but not necessarily, not necessarily the same for everybody. Okay, so we have the Nine of Swords. This one, okay, so this one is a feeling of, it's the Nine of Swords, and it's a feeling of it being in reverse. And with these cards, you can't always tell if it's in reverse or not. And I go by feel anyway. So sometimes even if a card comes out in the reverse, if it's got some upright elements as well, I'm likely to mention those. This feels like it's in reverse, but not completely. So it's a card of anxiety, staying up at night and worrying about things. Yesterday we saw that there was kind of this weird element of it. There was this ability to not worry about things, but almost like because they were worn out from the worrying. They have, it's just very, this is a worn out, stretched out, emotional kind of energy. Interesting. The energetic backdrop has you guys coming into the day emotionally worn out. Interesting. Let's see what else wants to come out for this. And so these are cards that are clarifiers, but they're more than that. They're also really just kind of enhancing the message. We've got the Hermit card that's coming out in the reverse. Three of Swords. I think that's what that was. It was an honorable mention, but it's really about, comes in with this Nine of Swords, with the part of it that feels like it's in reverse, which is a large part of it. There's something about benefiting from each other's energy, even if you're not in communication, or if the communication that you have is feeling very awkward and difficult. The jury is still very much out. I understand that this is not the Judgment card. However, it is the Hermit card, and it's all about figuring out truths that, it's not so much those new truths that came to you with the Ace of Swords. It's more, what do you do with it? How do you work with this? So this is your person working through the question of their values that you've now brought back front and center for them. They're not done yet. There's a sense of, I went into the hermit cave, into the thinking cave. I thought up some things. It's not everything I needed. I really got to go back in there. But there's an okay feeling about this. There's a sense that feels different from last time. We see their energy has stayed close to you, even though in their behaviors they've moved farther away. But now we see them kind of in yesterday's reading. Remember, we saw them kind of turning back around, but they're still very inconsistent about it. Here we have the Knight of Wands coming out in reverse again. With regard to this energy, it's not really supporting them being super stable or super consistent. So I'll give them that, but they're definitely, they're kind of running with it. So you'll find that they're staying quiet, or if they do communicate, it's very non-committal. So we've got the Three of Swords back again. So it's more than an honorable mention. I was feeling it as, you were feeling a little bit better about things, but not necessarily getting past them. These things still continue to be unresolved, even if there is a sense of fatigue with regard to dealing with them. There's going to be a need to get in there and work on some things, and what those rough edges are, it's kind of being uncovered now. We've got the Queen of Cups, which really speaks to those rough edges. This is codependency. This is the feeling of codependency. And if you've been hearing me say this in previous readings, it's come out here a lot recently. And if it feels like, wow, that's really offensive, I don't know that there is a codependent situation happening here, I would encourage you to go and read the list of codependent just you can just look it up, but go find the list of codependent traits. And what you may notice is that you're in a stage of recovery of codependence. Maybe both of you are in a stage of codependency recovery, and you may only be displaying a couple of these symptoms at this point, but there's still the energy of this, and those last couple of symptoms might still be pretty important. There's an anxious attachment versus avoidant attachment, and in some cases going back and forth between anxious and avoidant. That's just happened in a personal reading over the weekend. Noticed that there was this anxiety, but an anxious avoidant sort of attachment that was going along with this energy. It wasn't necessarily like it. We knew where it came from, but it was unresolved. Once again, there's a lot of this unresolved, even if you do understand the nature of it. You got the Five of Wands in reverse here and the Six of Wands in reverse. So the Five of Wands is about not wanting, it's about that fatigue and not wanting to struggle, not wanting to meet the challenges, but also realizing that you're still very much in the throes of those challenges. So with the Six of Wands, it feels like, in the upright, this is a card that talks about victory at the end of the battle. But in the reverse, it's really telling us battle is not over yet. It's not that you've lost. It's just that you haven't won. It's not there yet. And it's not you. It's both of you. It's just that things are very much still churning in the energy between the two of you. Not a simple place to be. But definitely, it's something that has to be reckoned with. You won't be able to just get past this energy without dealing with something. And we've got the Five of Pentacles here. It's like every time I add, that makes some allusion to, oh, there's an issue that needs to come out. There's something that is yet unresolved. Oh, it's the codependence. All right. So we asked, here is the piece that's not going to be able to allow itself to be ignored. And this is the Five of Pentacles speaks to the abandonment injury that so many of you are feeling and that so many of your people are feeling. But I would expand that to rejection and betrayal, because that is typically what shows up in this collective. And I'm feeling it again here. Abandonment, rejection, betrayal. That is almost always what I get when I get this Five of Pentacles. And if it's in the reverse, it's showing where the progress has been made. Here, though, it's showing the progress that still needs to be made. Let's see if there's anything else here. I feel like we need another card for this energetic backdrop. This just helps us kind of understand how to evaluate everything else that we're seeing and feeling in the reading. It just, what's the backdrop? Because every day is a little bit different, and this changes like moods. I mean, it can change throughout the day. I'm only going to probably ever do, a limited number of readings in a single day. But one of the things that I've noticed is I'll get in and do personal readings, and the backdrop will often match what's happening over here. Definitely interesting, but definitely something that is consistently changing quickly enough that we have to ask the question so that we understand and have the context to put it all in. I have just been throwing these cards around today. All right, so we want the Strength card here, which is speaking to, this is kind of cool because with the Six of Wands in reverse, the Five of Wands, the talk of all this, fatigue, the Five of Pentacles, and that I've got an abandonment injury to solve here. Having the Strength card here, that means that fear is not winning. And we have the Star card also. That's where it ends for this stack. But we have the Star card also, which we saw yesterday. I think it might have been in the extended. And at the risk of sounding like I'm trying to sell these extendeds, I just want to say that what I've noticed lately is that we get a lot of additional clarity in the extendeds. I made a comment in, maybe it was yesterday's reading, about a reading that came before, where we were looking at what this person wanted to have happen. Like, what do they really want here? And it looked like this incredibly selfish, they just want everything put out on a plate, a silver platter, and they don't want to have to work for it. It's like, well, that's kind of terrible. We got into the extended, though, and I can't remember if I put a note on that one or not, but we got into the extended and it said, yes, that's true, but here's more that kind of gives you a little bit of an insight into that. And I thought, all right, so I did want to kind of let people, I think I put a note on it because I wanted to let people know there is more here. It's not just going off in other directions to give you other information. It's digging way deeper into what we've got here, which in a lot of cases is what that extended does. But I think it was yesterday's extended where your person was like, I've got this awareness that you're always going to be in my energy, that you're part of me, that this is inevitable. There's an inevitability to this. But not necessarily a time-bound inevitability. And that's the thing. It's about, being able to get comfortable with the fact that you don't know the time on it, and just kind of letting go. And so there's an element here of being able to do that. So if you're feeling a little bit more today, like that things are going to pan out, they're going to work, you may be feeling that strength and that star energy as well. But it doesn't take away the fact that you still may be, emotionally fatigued from this, that you may still be having a little bit of triggering going on. And I get that sense. I think something may have triggered you here recently, but I don't get the feeling necessarily that it was your person directly. I think something else reminded you of something that your person is also helping you work through. So maybe it triggered you about something from your childhood, for example. Okay, so let's look into the question that we came here for, which is this energy, your person's energy is still right there. What should you be doing about it? Whether you're in communication or not, how should you be carrying yourself? How should you be handling the fact that your person's energy is still very much right there? What is that? Make sure that was the top one. We want this one, and it's the moon in reverse. Okay. This is really interesting. I've been feeling this, and I actually had another person tell me that they were feeling this also. There is this sense of them just wanting to be close to you and wanting to stand by your fire, so to speak. They don't necessarily want to come close. They don't necessarily feel like they're ready to interact. There's really this feeling of still working through that hermit piece, still working through their own values and their own thoughts on things. But a strong feeling of just feeling a little bit closer. This is like the precursor to vulnerability. I mean, I almost don't want to say that, but that's totally what it feels like. I made a commitment to myself that I would just say the words, hopefully not to, to the point where I get reported. Mostly that's not how the words come through, but it's, if I get words that feel like, even if they feel a little bit crass, or even if they feel a little bit like stuff I wouldn't normally say, I'm going to go ahead and say it. So that's where some of that comes from. But your person has, I just dropped some cards, but they're all face down. Like, that's a lot of cards. All face down. All right. I dropped like half the deck. And they landed not neatly, but very consistently. So we have the Seven of Swords here. All right. There's still something that you guys are very much needing to work through. So the energy is, it's right there, but it's almost as if you were presented with this directly, the way that your person is capable of doing it, you would turn it down. There is, and I don't mean this in that they're a bad person, or they're just not approaching you in a way that it's very awkward. It's very unfinished. And the thing is, it is unfinished. They're magnetized toward you. Their energy is right there. In a lot of cases, that's not within their comfort zone. They really aren't ready for this. They don't feel like they want to be that close. But on the other hand, they don't want to be away. They feel like you guys have this bond that brings you close together, and it makes them feel warm and comfortable to be next to you. But it also highlights everything they feel like they need to fix. We've got the Five of Swords here, which is really the energy of them engaging battles that are unnecessary or that otherwise don't move toward that greater good. So be careful with that, because this has got the feeling of a warning. Make sure that you don't engage battles that don't make sense, because it's a waste of your energy. And it doesn't really get you anywhere. This winning at all costs sort of feeling is that way as well. You have a Six of Cups. Um, allow, how can I say this? Allow the emotion to flow. Allow yourself to have the memories, even though they might evoke an emotional reaction and you're sick of the emotions. You know, it could be you don't really feel like going through that right now. You don't really feel like having that conversation, but I encourage you, I mean, conversation with yourself. I encourage you to go ahead and allow that to happen, because there are going to be some good truths that come out of that. Some of them may be uncomfortable, but they will help you from getting into this Five of Swords sort of territory, and they'll help protect you from getting yourself involved in Seven of Swords sort of energy, which is mistrustful. It's not just distrustful, but mistrustful. It's got a feeling it can't really be trusted and it can't trust. Then we've got the Tower here in reverse. This is all about not allowing something to change that needs to change. And it's not because I want to stay in my comfort zone necessarily. It's more I'm afraid of I'm already outside of my comfort zone with regard to this, and I feel like it's just going to get completely out of this world. Need to be able to control things a little bit better, all of that. And so what you're recommended to do here is instead flow with it, allow it to go, allow yourself to jump into something that feels new or feels a little bit unusual. And that might be, you know, we had that Ace of Wands come out that was, here's that passion, and a lot of you have already started to identify that, or I shouldn't say a lot. Some of you have emailed me to say, hey, I found the thing that's going to help ignite my soul, and it's starting to take some of my energy away from this person, but not really. Like I'm capable of multitasking. I'm capable of allowing this thing to light me up and using the energy of this connection to help boost me, and I don't forget about my person. I don't feel like I'm leaving them behind. It's really neat. But the beginning of it, like the very trigger for it, feels like this Page of Swords energy. It's letting yourself jump in there, allow their energy that is right there next to you to function as a little bit of a springboard to allow you to jump into something new. You are carrying a lot of energetic weight. A lot of that comes from the bond between the two of you. But it is also something that helps to drive you, and we see that here with this Sun energy as well. Go ahead and get these out of the way. So you've got the Ten of Wands, which is talking about some of what is really kind of weighing you down. You need to set down the parts that you can't control anyway. Way easier said than done, but go ahead and start to see if you can figure out where are those pieces that I don't control so that I can start to set them down. It's not so much you're about to fall down under the pressure, but if you're allowing yourself to use your person's energy as a springboard to help grow yourself, then you probably want to get that weight down as much as possible. You are absolutely encouraged to drop whatever you don't need there or that you can't control anyway to help free yourself up for something cool. And you've got a lot of something cool coming your way, but I strongly get the sense it is the happiness that you experienced with your person that helps to spur you into this. And there's a feeling of, it's a feeling of forgiveness. It is definitely, so with forgiveness, it's acceptance of the situation, not necessarily saying it's okay what you did or what I did, you know, because you're forgiving yourself, you're forgiving your person, you may be forgiving several others, but it's not always just saying that I'm okay with the actions. It's really more about saying, I accept that you are exactly who you are, you know, and that changes. So you are who you are today, and partially because of you are who you are today, partially because of those experiences that you've had in the past that may have caused pain for some others. And so you need to forgive yourself for that so that you're able to move on from it. But that's the sort of thing. So we've also got the Seven of Pentacles here, and this is about investing in yourself. It's about recognizing when you've put the seed into the ground, because you've got to remember where it is to come back and harvest it. With this energy here, it does present a great opportunity for you. It's not just a springboard. It's also kind of something that revs you up. Not always comfortable, a little bit different from what you were experiencing before, which was more of just a dearth of their energy where they were staying as far away as possible. So they're not far away now, which presents a whole different set of challenges. But this is helping you to understand, here's some of the things that you need to be thinking about. Here are some opportunities that open up for you. And we're going to look a little bit more deeply into that in the extended because there's a lot of really good information here. And so let's get you some additional insights and kind of knowledge about what you can do with this energy that is so close to you. And let's also see if we can get a little bit of your person's position on that to peek through some of their emotions. We're going to look first at the focus on you. And I made a comment yesterday that I don't want to diminish that. I'm like, we're not just focusing on you briefly before we jump into the extended, even though, it may be whatever, sort of fairly brief, but this is the most important part of things, because if we've got those lessons constantly flowing for you, that's going to put you in a much better position to be able to figure out, well, what do you do with all this information? Because a lot of times things move so slowly that it's difficult to say, well, how do I practically use this to help move forward, to help everybody feel better, to help get to a place where there is much more satisfaction. And it really is, it's going to be a bit of a journey for many of you. And so this talks about that journey, but it's really kind of where your focus is for now. So we've got the Five of Swords here. And so I guess I was feeling a lot of that Five of Swords over here too, the one that came out. It's kind of for your person, but it's also very, very relevant to you. So this is about making sure that you're putting your energy into the right places and pulling your energy away from places where it's just kind of spinning. So like with the Ten of Wands, you're carrying all of this extra weight that doesn't necessarily make sense to carry. So how do we get that to fall off you? How do you set that load down? And then how do you stop putting energy in places where it's not necessarily serving you to do so? Picking your battles and selecting only the battles that make sense, or that you don't have a choice but to fight, or that fit into a place of your responsibility and accountability, not the places where with that Ten of Wands energy, you're looking to set some things down. I am throwing cards all over the place today, but it feels also like the cards are bursting with energy. It's not a bad experience unless you're trying to put, shuffle cards on camera and it looks like you've never done it before. I can assure you I've done this before with this deck and it hasn't been quite this ugly. But that's all right. The messages that are coming out seem to be the right messages, and they're flowing nicely, but let me pick this up. Okay, so getting back to it. So we've got the Queen of Pentacles here. We saw this come out in, I think it was yesterday's reading, and it was a temporary feeling of kind of having been triggered by something or somebody in your environment. So it's not necessarily triggering you back to a situation with your person, although it's very relevant to your person. So those same things that you're here to learn with regard to self-worth, it's like you got triggered back to something. You heard somebody's voice, or you heard a voice that sounded like somebody's voice that used to cut you down. There was something that happened that reminded you of where it all began. It's not about your person. This is going to be earlier than that, earlier in your life. Something that the interaction with your person also triggered you very much in this way, but you have now got a slightly different perspective on it. So you really got to focus on how you're going to engage this. And like with this Five of Swords, make sure you're not throwing good energy after bad. With the World card here, you are at the end of a cycle, and you'll notice that with this triggering, you will realize, hey, I don't respond to this the same way that I did when I was a child or when I was younger and I got exposed to this, whatever it was, If you have somebody that is emotionally, verbally abusive, for example, instead of shrinking down, you might come back and say, that's totally unacceptable, not really going to do that, and just walk away. You might still get triggered by it, but it also shows how far you've come when you say, I'm not going to work with that, and I'm just going to walk away. So don't undersell yourself to yourself. The Magician card here talks about, this one feels like a feeling, the way that you're seeing yourself, like you don't feel like you're capable of doing things. You're actually quite capable, and you're able to move back toward partnership, which is something we've seen you moving toward for some time now, doing the efforts to move toward it. And you're going to have to finish setting down those burdens in order to allow it to really take place. In the meantime, though, You are being given, this is a solitary sort of effort. So I guess it's not, don't talk to anybody about this. It's not that. It's make sure that you're okay with the direction that you go and that you're doing things for reasons that you can stand behind, and that you can understand. I guess that's what I would say there. Then we've got the devil card coming out. Okay, so the devil card, but eyes wide open. The devil card just talks about something in your life that controls you more than it should, something that has control over you. You may feel very uncomfortable about it, very, very much wanting to let it go or want it to make it let you go. But for whatever reason, you're not feeling like you're in a position to really allow that to happen. You're not being encouraged to feel bad about these devil situations here, this energy. You're being encouraged to see it for what it is, eyes wide open. You're in the perfect place for this right now. Figure out what those battles are that aren't worth fighting. Some of them are going to be devil energy sort of situations. You've got the Knight of Cups here that, like the Page of Cups, is kind of reiterating, okay, go this route by yourself. This is something that other people's energy is going to, it's going to hold you back in some ways. And I'm not saying don't look for guidance. Just there are certain elements of this that you're going to have to go inside and do the development by yourself. So it's not with your person. It's not with your best friend. It's not with, in some cases, some of you are married and have a person that you're trying to work through things. It's not your husband or your wife. It's not your person. It's not your friend. Not saying don't go talk to a therapist or don't go find your hierophant, your guidance, your spiritual guidance. Not saying that at all, but definitely saying this is a portion of your lessons that are, they're individual lessons. It's not teamwork. I'll say that. So we've got the Empress here that's also come out in the reverse. You're going to feel like you're not ready for this. And we're done. You're going to feel like you're not ready for this, but that is not necessarily the case. It is another one of these perceptions very much brought about by whatever it is that's triggered you here, similar to the Magician, whatever's triggered you here to feel like back in your childhood, you weren't worth it, or you lacked value, something like that, that has come back out and just triggered you, but you also got to realize, oh, wow, I'm a different person now. But it's brought out for you some things that you definitely need to work on. But these are things that you're going to work on in kind of solitude in a way. So get your advice from wherever you want to get it from, but make sure that you're making your own decisions and that you know why you're doing what you're doing. You're at the end of a cycle, wrapping it up, and you want to make sure you do that very thoroughly. It's going to be a good thing for you. We'll look more into this in the extended, as well as getting a little bit more of a feel for, practically speaking, what should you do with this energy so close to you, because you've got some significant opportunities here. But there are some watch outs, make sure that you're actually allowing yourself to move forward, because this can be kind of overwhelming and that can be hard to do. So we'll look into that in the extended. The link is down below. I look forward to seeing you there or in the next reading.